Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
It's Wednesday, November 22nd. This is The Gateway. I'm Wayne Pratt. For his new film, Candy Cane Lane, East St. Louis native Reginald Hudlin played with audiences' expectations for a holiday movie.
Most Christmas movies don't have car chases in them. Most Christmas movies don't have kung fu battles in them. We're like hey, what if we took everything you liked and put it in one movie and just mixed it up?
Hudlin tells St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin about his approach to creating something new in a familiar genre in just a few minutes. This year's holiday shopping season is arriving with a mixed bag of economic news. St. Louis Public Radio's Eric Schmid reports inflation is easing, but it does not alleviate the price increases that have already happened.
Consumer spending has largely held up this year, even with serious concerns of a recession or that it would just drop off. But there's a limit to how much people are willing to shoulder higher costs. Nathan Jefferson is an associate economist at the St. Louis Fed. Jefferson, whose views do not represent those of the Fed, says consumers are concerned with affordability and businesses are responding.
As the input prices are rising, they're not able to pass on the full extent of those input price increases because consumers are pushing back. They're just not able to afford additional price increases.
Jefferson says credit card usage is up, which can signal that consumers are more stretched, but continue to spend. I'm Eric Schmid, St. Louis Public Radio.
The economic pinch is also hitting farmers who received less than 15 cents for every dollar spent on food in 2022. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says that's down slightly from 2021 when farmers received about 15.2 cents. When it comes to some Thanksgiving staples, the National Farmers Union says pumpkin farmers get 16 cents per can of pie filling and 6 cents per pound of turkey. The union's Mike Strands says the gap seems partly from a long food supply chain.
There's a lot of steps in the food chain between the farm gate and the dinner plate. A lot of hands are involved in processing, marketing, distributing, selling, preparing a lot of these food products.
Strands says less competition and increasingly processed food is also pushing down the farmers' share. Many home cooks are preparing to make a very big meal tomorrow, but as St. Louis Public Radio's Jonathan Ahl reports, Missouri's Fort Leonard Wood is preparing to make 12,000 very big meals.
The military installation in the Ozarks will serve thousands of traditional Thanksgiving dinners, while retirees, family members of soldiers who died while serving, and veterans will be there. They won't be the primary focus of Beverly Leggett. The food program manager for Fort Leonard Wood says her thoughts will be with young recruits in basic training who may be away from home for Thanksgiving for the first time.
I want them to remember how Thanksgiving was while they were stationed at Fort Leonard Wood. I want them to remember that we love them, we care about them, and we are here to support them and provide the very best for them.
Leggett says her team is focusing on fare from around the country so everyone will have a taste of home. In Rolla, I'm Jonathan Ahl, St. Louis Public Radio.
The St. Louis County Council has given final approval to transferring sales tax revenue to help fund Bi-State's regional light rail and bus service. Initial efforts to get the measure over the finish line were delayed because of a lack of support on the council. This bill now goes to St. Louis County Executive Sam Page. A Democratic state lawmaker says calls for Missouri's House Speaker to resign are premature. St. Louis Public Radio's Jason Rosenbaum has more from Ian Mackey's appearance on Politically Speaking.
Some Republican lawmakers called for GOP House Speaker Dean Plocher to resign after it was revealed he got House reimbursements on travel expenses that were already paid for by his campaign. Plocher chalked up the situation to administrative errors and says he's paid the money back. Mackey says he's befuddled by some GOP lawmakers calling for Plocher to resign while supporting Donald Trump for president.
Their soon-to-be nominee for president, former president, has 91 felony indictments. I mean, I think drawing out that hypocrisy is a worthwhile effort.
Mackey also says Plocher has been fair to House Democrats, which is why many of his colleagues aren't calling for his ouster. I'm Jason Rosenbaum, St. Louis Public Radio.
That episode of Politically Speaking is at stlpr.org. The Cardinals have officially announced the signings of 2 free agent pitchers. Lance Lynn is returning to the team that drafted him in 2008. Veteran Kyle Gibson played college baseball at the University of Missouri. Cardinals baseball operations president John Mozeliak says the moves are part of a busy offseason as the team overhauls its roster.
There's been a lot of churn, but that means we do not want to be complacent, and so more moves to come.
The Cardinals finished last this year in the National League's Central Division. East St. Louis native Reginald Hudlin scored in 1990 with his first film, House Party. Since then, he's led the reboot of the Black Panther comic book and served as president of BET. Hudlin mashed up film genres for his new holiday movie, Candy Cane Lane, about a family's battle with an evil elf. It's his first film with Eddie Murphy since directing him in the romantic comedy Boomerang. St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin asked Hudlin how his upbringing in East St. Louis prepared him for such a wide-ranging Hollywood career.
Yeah, economically very tough place, but culturally incredibly rich. All the great music on KATZ and WESL, hearing the blues, hearing late night jazz, as well as hearing this, the greatest era of R&B in the 60s and 70s, that was enriching.
I know for one thing, you and your brother went to Catherine Dunham's Performing Arts Training Center, which was a remarkable opportunity. Could you talk a bit about?
Catherine Dunham, who was a world-famous dancer and choreographer, she worked in Hollywood, she had toured the world, and they brought her back to St. Louis because all the riots were breaking out, and they figured East St. Louis was the next place for a riot. So they said, well, let's give these young people opportunities. So they started a college prep program. And she brought in master drummers from Senegal, martial artists from Japan and Brazil, as well as dancers from her own company. And suddenly, guys who were in street gangs were becoming dancers.
When you directed Boomerang in 1992, that was a big moment in your career, but in Eddie's career, because he was venturing out of the straight comedies for the first time, getting into romantic comedies. And believe it or not, you put him in a scene with children for the first time on screen, and that ended up having quite an impact on where his work would go. The story was that he pulled you into that because he had seen House Party and enjoyed it. What did he see in your approach to that film that he wanted that perspective in Boomerang?
Eddie's very clear in terms of his measurement. He goes, do you get the joke? Can you tell a joke? Do you understand the rhythms of comedy? Right? That's his bottom line measurement. So when he saw House Party, he goes, oh, you guys get the joke. You get humor. And it's crazy because we've been trying to find the right project to work together on since then. And then when this Christmas movie happened, it just came together perfectly.
Candy Cane Lane is the new film. It comes on Amazon Prime streaming on December 1st.
Yep. And his skill set is so spectacular. So we just picked up where we left off.
Venturing into the holiday film space, what have you been able to bring to that that's a little different from what we've seen before?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of Christmas movies, right? So the challenge is, how do you make yourself stand out? And I can say with absolute confidence, you have never seen a movie like this. Most Christmas movies don't have jump scares in them. Most Christmas movies don't have car chases in them. Most Christmas movies don't have kung fu battles in them. So that's the movie we're making. We're like hey, what if you took everything you liked and put it in one movie and just mixed it up?
You've always strike me as a filmmaker who's interested in using form to your advantage, right? Not to be trapped maybe by the tropes and cliches of a genre, but to engage them in a way that does what it's supposed to do in that story. Things are cliches sometimes for a reason, but with a more fresh point of view on it.
Absolutely. That's a really good take. There's rules, right? There's rules to Christmas movies. There's rules to horror movies. So you can either feel like, okay, I know what's going to happen next, or do you play with the audience's expectations and just take a hard left? Whoa, where are we going now? This is not by the rules. And then you take another hard left. What the heck? And then you end up back with the feelings that you expect, but it's earned. It's sincere because you broke the rules along the way. And there's a lot of magic. There's a lot of fantastic in this movie. You believe all that too.
That's filmmaker Reginald Hudlin speaking with St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin. Our David Casares edited that report. We are taking a break for Thanksgiving. This weekday extravaganza returns Monday. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.